everyone, Grease here. I just did a video for the Ultimate Fighter Season 22. I think this is episode 3? Anyways, I did that one. I'm going to be uploading that today. And today I'm also going to be doing this martial arts chat about basically what we seem to have. I think a lot of people have their ideas of what they want, their journey for martial arts, what people call martial arts, and things of that nature. And the ongoing battle, I think, on forums and anywhere are what people consider martial arts. There are some schools out there, dojos if you want to call them that, and that's what it means. So schools that are out there right now that they've taken out the self-defense and technique and left in just kata. There's ones that have a lot of the XMA stuff, and there's some that are out there that explore more of the, building and self-confidence, and they still go over the techniques, but they really don't pressure test it or have any scenario basis for it. They just kind of do their thing so they can work through belt levels and go from thing to thing. And for a lot of people that can work for them because they just wanted it for physical fitness. They wanted it for health or for whatever growth that they needed. They needed something to fill a void in their life or whatever the case might be. Or they really into competition and they really wanted to do something. These guys, it takes a lot of athletic ability to accomplish some of these feats. And then they've got the competitive side that also goes over to MMA. They want to compete, so they do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they do Judo, they'll do Muay Thai, they'll do kickboxing, they'll do boxing, they'll do wrestling. They want to do a competitive way of fighting, and they want to get in really good conditioning, and they really want to go in that direction. That's in reality, that's really phenomenal. I really like that everyone has a purpose. And I mean, some take it to that point of, like even Jet Li, he said, I'm never doing a martial arts movie again. Everyone assumed that meant he was out of acting. And then all of a sudden he showed up in other movies and he goes, no, you don't understand. Those are action flicks. Those are not martial arts movies, because there's more to martial arts than the physical nature. And he meant the whole body, mind, and spirit part of it, and only a few of his movies really capture the whole spectrum of all three of those components in an entirety. And he didn't really kind of explain that until later on, and then because he thought that's what everybody understood that. Because to him, martial arts is a lifestyle, and it's the way he lives his life, in mind, body, and spirit. And the physical part is only one part of this, and the self-discipline and self-control, and then of course the spiritual side for him, it takes another tone. For me, I believe in the mind, body, and spirit as well. All have to be whole and have to be in control. I do believe that, but when I hear the word martial, and if you look it up, it's about war and combat and battle. Those words, that word is, dressed with, military and basically combative type ideals. Martial is a word that is stuck, that's what it means. There's no other definition of martial. That's the word, okay? And then you've got arts, which is a self-expression of, and so in other words, it's a self-expression of a warlike, of basically combat. Your expression of combat. So that's why I still think MMA is a martial art, because it's an expression of combat. Even if it's a combat sport, it's combat. MMA is there because they don't have just, people mistake that Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu only has the ground fighting sport aspect. They don't. There are some schools that only teach that side, And unfortunately, and even the Gracies have admitted that they didn't realize some people have taken the whole self-defense portion out of the actual curriculum. They were unaware of this because they're so big now. They've got so many schools, and they've got all these satellite schools and stuff now. I mean, they got what Gracie Garages basically. They got all these different things now that people they don't control everything. Like basically, they don't have a quality control system up yet that can handle all that stuff. But Hickson Gracie himself said, if you don't have that self-defense aspect in it, then you really don't have what was really the essence of what our art was, what Gracie Jiu-Jitsu was really supposed to be around. Because he believes that Jiu-Jitsu is Jiu-Jitsu, and it was just their family's expression of Jiu-Jitsu. So they had a self-defense portion, and people see it, and people who know it from from the actual Gracies and things like that, the combative side of it, they know the benefits of it because it's still the Jiu-Jitsu stuff. It's still, Judo and Jiu-Jitsu. It's the same stuff that you would get from a Japanese, school. They've changed up some things of it. I don't know how much of it. I'd have to really research it, but it all looks pretty similar to me. Now, so that's a defensive for them. They don't just do that, and at the same time, so it's still combat. Judo was set up, and people use judo in self-defense. They've used it for a long time. It's an expression of combat. When people start getting into XMA and there's no real combat issue to it, there's no self-defense to it. This is in Mike Chat's words. These are not made for fighting. These are not made for combat. Then it becomes acrobatics and dance. It is not for war. It is not for battling. So it has no purpose to have martial in the word. You can still say extreme arts, extreme acrobatic arts or extreme, whatever. But it's really not martial. And just because you throw a kick in there doesn't matter, man. I know dancers that kick, but it's not considered martial, and since it's on that same premise, then it's really not a martial art, in my opinion. And not only in my opinion, but by the literal meaning of the word martial. You take out the combative side of any fighting form, you take out the actual combative side of it, you no longer have a martial system. You do not have an expression of martial, of anything combative or battle that can be used for battle or could be used for a fight. You have nothing that goes into that. So that's where I have this, but it's an ongoing fight that seems to be happening. When you mention that, they say, what, does that mean, what, you think self-defense is the only way to go? No, as you can see, I don't think so. If you have a combat sport, boxing, wrestling, mixed martial arts, jiu-jitsu, judo tournaments, even taekwondo tournaments, now, these were all meant for combat sport. Kickboxing, whether it's American kickboxing, Muay Thai kickboxing, Savate, these are meant for their combat sports. So there's still an expression of combat, which is still martial art, and that's the expression of it. I do not believe that it's only set for reality self-defense and tactical and all that stuff. I don't believe that, but I do believe that when you get into the sides of the tactical and the combative side, you still see the more raw essence of what martial art is. An expression of combat. These guys are really showing and then that's when you start getting into the technicalities of what a martial art is or a martial science is. These are, sciences of war, art of war. That's what that book is about, and that's what it means, is the art of war, martial art. Get it? I hope you do. And you can see that it falls on mindsets and understanding of what that is. And to me, when I hear what martial art is, and you really get the actual definition, I'm talking about literal definition of these words put together. extreme martial arts is not martial at all. It's not a martial art, in my opinion. Is it still athleticism? Is it still a great source? I mean, these guys are impressive. Yes, that is impressive and hardcore, and not everyone's going to be able to do that because they are solid. But it's not expression of combat. But I do believe even the competitive sports are still a martial art because it is an expression of combat. So it's like, to me, the only thing that is not a martial art is when you take out the actual expression of combat, when it is not able to be used in any combative way, when it is not used in that expression at all, then it ceases to be martial. But that's in my point of view of what it is. It doesn't have to be just a tactical military thing. It can exist in the sporting world, and martial is the word that we're looking at here, and the art, along with martial art experience. That's why people try to say they're martial science and this, that, and the other, and it would give you irrefutable evidence that this is going to work repetitively every single time. When it comes to life and that kind of stuff, I don't know if you can really put a science to it. I mean, if you want to say you can, and there is certain technical aspects that you can, but I think that's a tricky one in my opinion. However, is it martial? Is it for combat? Is it for military, or not just military, but combat and war usage? Is it an expression or a science for that? If it is, then yes, I totally will accept that. But if it has no combat use, if it is not used for any type of fighting, it is not a system of that, then it is not combat ready, then it's not martial. Don't try to fool me with it being martial. It is not martial. Okay? Impressive? Yes. Physical? Yes. Intuitive? Yes. And I'll give you complete and total kudos for it. But it shouldn't be a part of anything. And I think people who go in for forms and all that stuff, forms are fine. They're great. They help you with learning posture and all that stuff. But honestly, all that is made for and designed for is to condition your body to know how to fight better. And the only way you can do that is by actually doing the application of fighting, which is through what they call bunkai, or what basically your sparring, your kumite, any type of actual fighting. And when I see people doing this stuff in like taekwondo, in karate tournaments, and I'm not talking point fight, I'm talking full contact. I'm not talking about advanced game of tag, because that's just, to me, is just training. You should be doing that just because to get your timing down, understanding timing, feeling those hits, but not really laying someone out, but going really full contact, and really then you really put yourself to the test. Even if it's one-on-one, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have all these technical things. Martial is combat. Okay, and some say it's war and it's military, and it's like, fine, but they still use these techniques in different militaries. They use Tang Soo Do and Hapkido in the Korean military. They use jujitsu in karate in the Japanese. They use they use savate in France. They use, do you see what I'm saying here? They use Muay Thai and they use Silat. These other countries use these different things. They use they use Kali in the Philippines. So to say that one beats out the other, or the one is not more military than the other, it's in their military. You can't say that. So is it made for combat? Yes. Then it's a martial system. And even if it's for sporting, is a combat sport? Well, then still a martial art. It's still an expression of combat. Okay? It's that simple. Look up those words and look up those definitions. And tell me if you think I'm wrong by the literal definition of martial art. And tell me what it is for you. If you think it's just a journey for, spiritual enlightenment, stuff like that, I'm going to have to, we will disagree on that, because I don't believe it is. I believe it is a good way for you to get an understanding of who you are, to push you and test your limits, but there's a lot of ways to do that. So, you guys, leave comments below. Let me know what you feel martial arts is to you. I just go more by the literal meaning of it. So, you guys let me know what you think, and I will talk to you guys later.